In this video, I'm going to be talking about how to set up Sendgrid with Groundhogg. It's Paul Tobey from Training Business Pros. Thanks for joining me for another one of my tutorials. So setting up Sendgrid with Groundhogg is essentially a 5-step process. We're going to first install the extension into Groundhogg. Then we're going to verify the domain name in Sendgrid. Then we're going to create a Sendgrid API key and verify the integration with Groundhogg. Then we're going to set up the webhook event listener, and then we're going to send some emails. Wow, sounds like a lot of fun. We're going to take about 9 minutes or so to do this, and it is step by step. So if you want to pause things as you're going through it and get the steps set up, then that's probably the best way to do it. Let's get started. Hey, it's Paul Tobey here once again. Remember, if you like videos like this, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel as we make videos like this all the time. Right, so let's set up Sendgrid with Groundhogg. First thing we're going to do is dive inside our WordPress installation, and we're going to go to Groundhogg Extensions. And let's just search for the Sendgrid extension and install and activate. And boom, there you go. It's installed and activated. Go down to Settings. Click on Email, and you'll find the Sendgrid section at the bottom. So what we're going to do is we're now going to go to Sendgrid and log in. So let's go do that. And here we are inside our Sendgrid account. So the first thing we're going to do is go to Settings and Sender Authentication. So we're going to authenticate our domain. It's better than a single email address because you're going to be using probably several different email addresses to send email from. So let's type in our domain name, and then next, and then the domain that you send from. And then it gives us 3 CNAME records to put. So where we're going to put them is in our Cloudflare account. And of course, you can put your DNS settings in any DNS manager that you want. I just happen to use Cloudflare for this particular application. So let's go to DNS and we're going to add a record. I'm going to do one of these and then fast forward through it. So let's grab the first one. So we're going to copy this, go into DNS. We're going to add a CNAME record, paste that in there, go grab the next one over here, paste that in there, and click Save. And this record type cannot be proxied, so then just click that off and it's DNS only. And there's our first CNAME record. And let's go and do the others. So that's the last of it. They've all been added to Cloudflare. So now we're going to click I've added these records and verify. And according to this, it worked. So Sendgrid is pretty fast. Sometimes if you use other DNS managers, they might not happen right away, but you can make sure that it authenticates by clicking those buttons. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is let's set up the API key now that the domain is registered and authenticated. So we're going to go to Email API Integration Guide. And we're going to choose Web API because it's a wonderful API with Groundhogg. And it's built in PHP, so we'll choose PHP. And the API key name, I just give it the name of the domain. And create key. And it's going to create this wonderful key, which will be blurred for you, because to me, I don't want you to be able to see that. And then what we do is we go back to our Groundhogg installation, and we paste in the API key in this box. There it is, and click Save Changes. Then what we do is we test the API connection by clicking that button. And it says, sent email to admin@fasttrackmysales.com. Let's go back to Sendgrid and go, I've integrated the code above. Now, verifying the integration wouldn't work unless you sent an email, but we just sent an email from our application. And let's click Verify Integration. And it worked. If anything fails there, it may be because you hadn't authenticated your domain name and or you didn't paste the correct API key into the box. But that seemed to work just fine. So then let's move on to the next step. We need to set up an event webhook listener. And in order to do that, all we need to do now is go down to Settings, API Keys, and you can see there's the API key that we have. Both should be blurred out. And then we're going to click on Edit API Key. And we're going to scroll down to Mail Settings. And under Mail Settings, there should be something called Event Notification right here. And we're going to click that all the way over to the right. So both of those bars are completely blue. And then we're going to click Update. And then we're going to go back to verify this to our Groundhogg application. Scroll down in the settings area and let's click Test API Connection again. And it says Test Email Sent. Let's go back to Sendgrid. And now what we need to do is under Mail Settings, which is down here on the left, it should say Enabled. Now, if that connection did not work or verify, this would be gray and it would say disabled, but in this case, it absolutely worked. And right now, there is only one final step that you need to do. Now that everything is set up, there's a couple of things that I'm going to recommend. First, scroll up in the Settings Email tab, and we're going to choose Sendgrid as the default email service. Now, if you don't choose this, it's going to choose your server settings SMTP in order to send email. So once you've set up Sendgrid, do that. I also use it for transactional emails, and I also use it for the marketing email service. Once those three are selected, go down to the bottom and click Save Changes. One final step is to test it. So what we're going to do is we're going to test it to my email address here. I'm going to choose an action. We're going to select an email and we're going to send it. And then activity, process events, because we don't want to have to wait for the cron to run, even though it runs every minute. And now the last thing we need to do is check our email. And there's the email, and it came into our primary folder. Very cool. Hi, John, your appointment with us is in 3 weeks, even though my name is Paul, because that's the way I set up that test account. So, boom, we have set up Sendgrid completely. Remember, there are essentially 4 main steps. Install the Sendgrid extension first. Make sure you verify your domain by adding the CNAME records to your Cloudflare account or whatever DNS manager you use. Then you create the new Sendgrid API key, connect that to Groundhogg and verify that it is set up properly. And then finally, set up the webhook event listener and then test and send out a bunch of emails. Sendgrid is an amazing service. I think it's only like $15 for like 40,000 emails a month, which is pretty cool. And it works really, really well with Groundhogg. I use it in a couple of my client accounts. So thanks so much for your time. If you have any questions about the installation process or you want to drill down on anything like maybe Cloudflare and you want to ask some questions about that, please post them in the comments below and I'll be sure to get back to you and or make a video about that particular question because I'm always looking for great ideas for content here on the Training Business Pros channel. Thanks for your time. Thanks so much for watching. It's Paul Tobey here. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. When you do, it lets us know your level of interest and will help us create more content just like this for you and other people just like you. If you have any questions or comments about the content, please post them below and we'll be sure to get back to you. Thanks for your time.